Hello, my name is Dennis, and welcome to my trailer park white trash mobile home kitchen. I really do live in a mobile home, in a trailer park, and this is my kitchen. A few months ago, I made a gâteau Paris Brest, which is made with choux pastry, pâte choux. And it came out so well, and the cream filling came out so well, that I decided I wanted to do cream puffs. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do cream puffs with an almond praline filling. And this has to be done in stages because the cream filling has to sit in the refrigerator overnight to set up. So this is going to be a pretty good sized project, but it's going to be delicious and I think a lot of fun. For the almond praline, I'm using 4 ounces or 113 grams of almonds, 1/2 cup, 125 grams granulated sugar, 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters of water, 1 teaspoon lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon salt, and 1 teaspoon vegetable oil. I am heating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, that's about 177 Celsius. I've put my almonds on a baking sheet. This is a 1/4 sheet, a small one, that I've lined with parchment paper, and I'm going to roast these in the oven for about 15 minutes to get them nicely toasted. The next thing I want to do is make my caramelized sugar candy. So I'm going to put my 1/2 cup of water in there. No, that's 1/4 cup. And then my sugar, lemon juice, and my salt. Notice the color change there. This has come up to 310 degrees. Remember our almonds. I'm going to pour this over the almonds. And then let both the pan and the almonds cool now. I cut up my praline candy here. I'm a bit nervous about this because the sugar isn't as hard crack as it was supposed to be, even though I heated this up to the temperature that it should be. I'm thinking maybe the humidity was enough to cause this to get a little bit sticky. So what I did to try to help my food processor is I put some powdered sugar in a duster. And I'm going to dust that in there, and hopefully I can get that to chop up without getting all gummed to the blade. I wanted you to see what that looks like. It crumbled up pretty nicely. It's a nice crumbled texture. It's not real sticky. If it's a little bit sticky, that's okay because my oil will bring it together into the paste that I want. I forgot to pour the oil in there. So there's my 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil. That'll turn that into, hopefully, a paste. And there it is. You can see that's coming together to form that paste that I'm after. Nice, soft paste. So now this is ready to place in a bowl, cover, and set aside as I make my cream filling. For my cream filling, I'm going to be using the chopped up almond praline that I made earlier. And I have 2 teaspoons of unflavored gelatin, 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters water, 1 1/2 cups, 355 milliliters, half and half. You could use whole milk instead. 5 large egg yolks. You can save the egg whites for making cat's tongues. Those are a cookie. That recipe is on my website. I have 1/3 cup, 66 grams granulated sugar, 1 1/2 tablespoons cornstarch, 3 tablespoons unsalted butter, chilled and cut into pieces. This is actually my clarified butter. 1 1/2 teaspoons vanilla extract, and then finally 1 cup, 237 milliliters of heavy cream chilled. I need to soften my gelatin, so I'm going to pour my water in that bowl and then sprinkle my gelatin over the top and just let that sit. And that'll be ready when I need it. I need to combine my egg yolks and sugar. Whisk that together.
You can see that comes together very quickly and easily. And then add the cornstarch. That's done. Next, I need to heat my milk or half and half. I'm heating my milk over a medium flame just to bring this up to the boil till it just starts to simmer, and then I can turn the heat off, and then I'm going to use this to temper the egg yolks, then combine everything. My half and half has just come up to the simmer, so to temper this I'm going to just pour in maybe a third to a half of this, whisking constantly. What I'm trying to do here is just prepare these egg yolks so that I don't cook the egg yolks and end up with scrambled eggs. Now I can whisk my egg yolks into my milk and I don't have any scrambled eggs. Scrape that bowl in case there's any sugar on the bottom. So there is my custard mixture. I need to cook this now in a double boiler. I'll show you how I'm going to set that up. If you've seen my other videos, in some of them I set up a double boiler. I have water here simmering on the stove. Just enough water in that pan so that when I set this inner pan in it, the water touches the bottom, but it's obviously not so much that it's going to boil over the sides. And now I want to cook this custard. It'll start to thicken because of the cornstarch in there as soon as it comes up to a boil. But I'm going to continue to cook this an additional 8 minutes. And then it'll be a nice thick custard. So this has reached the first stage. You can see now it's starting to be thick. That's the cornstarch. So I'm going to set my timer for 8 minutes and I'm going to stay with this, stirring it constantly for those 8 minutes to really thicken this down, cook this custard well. There's my timer. It's been 8 minutes. Look how that custard is now. Isn't that beautiful? And why cook this over a double boiler? Well, the water underneath is not going to exceed a temperature of 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius. It's the same reason why when you cook custard and ramekins in the oven, you put them in a water bath. The water protects the delicate structure of the custard from any damage that might be caused by excessive heat. So you're cooking it over a low, moist heat, and that's protecting that custard. So now I can take this out of the water, set this aside, and continue combining my custard ingredients. My next step is I want to pour my vanilla in, my softened gelatin, and my cold butter, and get this mixed together until that butter melts. I've got my whisk on my electric mixer here, and I'm just going to whisk that together until it's thoroughly blended. So there is my custard. As I mentioned, I transferred it to a bowl. I cut a circle of parchment paper just big enough to fit onto the surface. I gave myself a little tab so I can lift it off later. And I pressed that parchment down right onto the surface of that custard. That'll help to protect it from forming a skin as it chills in the refrigerator. You could do this with plastic wrap too. So now this has to chill in the refrigerator for a minimum of 45 minutes. I put my whisk attachment on my stand mixer, and this is my chilled heavy cream. I just took this out of the refrigerator. I want to whip this to soft peaks, which could take 2 to 3 minutes. Start it low so you don't splatter it all over the place, and then increase the speed a little at a time until you can whip it up at a really high speed and whip that to soft peaks. Show you what this looks like. So there it is. It's not firm peaks, it's a nice soft peak texture. This is my custard from the refrigerator. It has cooled down. And this next part is kind of critical. I need to combine the custard and this praline candy stuff to get rid of all of the lumps, because if there's any large lumps in this, when I go to pipe this, those lumps will block the piping tube, the piping tip. So I'm going to put my custard in there. And then I really need to work this with a wooden spoon and just combine, 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 and work these two together until I get this as smooth as possible. So that looks pretty good. I'm satisfied there are no large chunks in there. I've broken that up pretty well. I'm happy with that. Now what I need to do is fold in my whipped cream. And when working with something like this, you want to just fold this gently because you don't want to beat down that whipped cream, and just continue until this is combined. So there is my cream and custard and praline mixture. I'm not going to overwork that. And now my final step is to cover this and refrigerate this overnight. Remember, there's gelatin in there, and that'll help this to firm up. And I'll be ready tomorrow to pipe this into my cream puffs. For the pâte choux, I'm using 1 cup or 237 milliliters of water, 4 ounces, 113 grams of butter. You can use whole butter, clarified butter, unsalted butter. I'm using clarified butter. 1 tablespoon sugar, a pinch of salt, which to me is about 1/8 of a teaspoon, less than 1/8 of a teaspoon. 1 cup sifted, which is 4.5 ounces, 128 grams of all-purpose flour, or you can use bread flour. And then 4 large eggs. What a large egg here is in the US is about 2 ounces or 57 grams in the shell. Pâte choux is a cooked dough, and so I'm going to put my water, sugar, and salt and my butter. It's my clarified butter. If you're working with cold butter from the refrigerator, cut it up into small pieces so it'll melt up in the boiling water more quickly. I'm going to bring this water to the boil, and I want to bring it to a rolling boil so that that water and butter is well distributed before I add the flour. So as you can see, my mixture here is boiling pretty well. So I'm going to all at once put in the flour, turn the heat off, and then get this all mixed in. You're going to get some lumps, that's inevitable. But just stir, 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 stir to get this all mixed in. Then bring it up to the heat again to about medium-low. And you're going to cook this for a minute or 2. Some of them say to even go 3 or 4 minutes. I transferred my cooked dough to my stand mixer fitted with my flat mixing blade. I'm going to whip this up a little bit just to cool this down some before I start putting the eggs in, because I don't want to cook the egg when it goes in. Now I'm going to start incorporating my eggs one at a time. You want to fully incorporate each egg to get it really well mixed in before you add your next egg. Before you put your fourth egg in, scrape your bowl down. What you'll notice is as you put in each egg, you'll have this crumbly mass that won't come together until you've put your fourth egg in, and then all of a sudden it'll stick to the sides of the bowl, and you'll see these strings being drawn off the side of the bowl as the paddle moves around. And what you want finally is a batter that will run off your paddle but will leave these points. Like so. This is running a little bit slow, but it leaves these points, and that's what I want. Better a little bit too thick than too thin, because you want this to hold its shape when you pipe it onto the baking sheet. As I mentioned, I'm going to be piping this, so I fitted a plastic bag with there's my oven heating up to 400 degrees. I fitted a plastic bag. I have pastry bags, but I like Alton Brown's method. Use the Ziploc bags. They're always available. They're easily disposable. I don't have a large fitting for my tip for my bag, but I don't really need it. The coupling alone has a big enough hole for what I need. So that's just the coupling. I cut a little bit of a hole into the corner of the plastic bag, pushed my coupling through it, attached my ring. That's fine. That's ready to go. Then I'm going to place that in. Excuse me. I live next to a highway. It's not actually like a freeway or anything. It's just a main avenue. And then I'm going to put that inside of a measuring cup to hold it while I spoon my while I put my batter in there. In the meantime, I have lined a couple of baking sheets with parchment paper. And as I mentioned, my oven has come up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 200 Celsius. Squeeze as much air out as I can, close my Ziploc bag, and there we have it. My piping bag. I'm going to do my little cream puff pastries on here. Don't worry about those little peaks if they come up. Little ones of these would be profiteroles. I'm going to do puffs on this one. I made an egg wash by beating one egg well with about a tablespoon of water. And I'm going to just lightly paint these with egg wash. That's why you don't need to worry about those peaks, is because you can push those down now with your brush. And finish any last minute shaping you might need to do to get rid of any pointy edges like that. So I've coated these with an egg wash. I'm ready to put these in the oven. Again, my oven is 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius. I'll be baking these 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to check them after 20 minutes and see how well browned they are. They're going to brown fairly quickly, and then they won't brown a whole lot more. So you can see how those browned nicely. I'm going to run a knife into the side of each of these just to make a steam vent. I reduced my oven's temperature down to 325 degrees. And I'm going to bake these, I think I mentioned 20 to 30 minutes longer to dry these out and to finish the browning. These are a nice golden brown, but they should be a richer, almost a chocolatey brown, including inside of these open areas where they've come apart a little bit. I have in the meantime put my cream filling in a Ziploc bag fitted with a large star tip. Now I want to carefully open this up. They're very crisp, so they will break easily. If they break, that's okay. As long as you got enough that you can fill any of these lacy pieces inside, you can break those out. You see how dry these are. Now how I would fill these is fill the bottom with cream like so, and then in a circular pattern, scallop pattern, put some cream around the edges so that it overlaps the edges a little bit. Put a little bit of cream in the top and the cap so that it'll stay on. Then press that in place. I mean, the whole point of making these cream puff shells is to have a vehicle that will deliver that delicious almond praline cream to your mouth. So to me, it should be hanging out the edges a little bit. Now keep in mind that this cream is made with gelatin and butter, so as it comes up to a warm temperature, it's going to start to ooze out and melt. Keep these in the refrigerator. If your praline cream becomes too soft, it's because your hands are warming it up. Put it in the refrigerator for a while, let it chill down, and then continue filling your cream puffs. So there they are. I put 3 on a fancy plate so that you could see what they look like. Beautiful almond praline filled cream puffs. I cannot wait to see what these taste like. Okay, before I start giving all these things away to my neighbors, they love me, by the way, because I give them such delicious food. I want to taste one of these, at least one of these for myself. That's exactly what I thought it should taste like. That cream filling is sweet, it's delicious. Okay, excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy the remainder of my one cream puff here that I'm going to allow myself. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit the White Trash Cooking website and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.